Hey guys, it's Travis from bpnorthwest.com. Today we're going to show you how to change the rear shocks on your British car. Now I'm doing it on a Mark IV Spitfire, but it doesn't really matter what make and model of car you have because they're all pretty much the same. So if you've got a TR2 or a TR8, an MGA or a Sunbeam Tiger, it's all going to be the same stuff. Let's head over to the bench. We're going to show you what kind of tools you need for the application and show you how to do it. For the rear shock, I chose to go with a gas adjustable shock. We have lots of different shocks on our website that you can choose from, but out of all of them, I like these the best. They're really high quality. They're going to give you a super ride. For tools that we're going to need, you're going to need a flat bar. You're going to need a socket wrench with a 3/4 inch socket and 11/16. You're going to need a 3/4 inch box end wrench. You're also going to need a knife or just a razor blade will work. Some emery cloth or sandpaper. This is just your basic household 100 grit sandpaper. You're also going to want some anti-seize for the threads, and then you may need some penetrating oil. Now that we've got our parts, we've got our tools ready to go, let's chalk the front tires on the car, jack up the back, put some blocks underneath it, and pull that rear tire off. Now that you got your rear tire off, the first thing you're going to want to do, grab your socket with an 11/16 and take this bottom nut off right there. Now that our bottom nut and washer's off, let's grab our 3/4 inch box end wrench and our 3/4 inch socket, take the one off the top. Now with the top nut off and bolt still in place, the next thing you're going to do is grab your flat bar and pry the bottom of this old shock off. Be real careful, as always, what you're prying against. I'm going to pry against this suspension piece right here. Now that that's off, you're going to want to wiggle this back and forth to get that top bolt loose. You may have to pry it, and if you do, put this nut back on just enough and pry against the nut and not against the threads. Now that the shock's off, you're going to want to take your razor blade, and on the smooth part of the lower bolt, those rubber grommets will leave some residue behind, and you just want to scratch that off, but stay away from the threads. Now that the big stuff's off, take your piece of sandpaper and just wrap it around there and go back and forth again, just on the smooth part and not on the threads. You're going to want to take some anti-seize and put a dab on the threads, but also wipe some around on the shaft as well, because it's going to make the shock a lot easier to slide on. Now it's time to install the shock. If you decided to go with a set of adjustable shocks like I did, make sure that knob is pointing to the inside of the car so you can get underneath and make an adjustment if you decide to do so. As you get this on, put the bottom one on first, and you're going to have to wiggle this back and forth and keep pulling to get it to slide on good. Now that the bottom of the shock is on, you're going to notice that the shock isn't quite tall enough to stretch out and reach into the top hole. And the reason is because your suspension is all the way out. So what you're going to want to do is grab your shock and jack up against this sway bar back here and start bringing it up. This is also going to make it easier to help get that bolt in because there's no tension or pressure on the shock. Now that your anti-seize is on, go ahead and start working it through that bolt hole. Remember, you might have to wiggle that shock back and forth to get it all the way through. And if it gets real tight, you may even have to take your pry bar and help force it through a little bit. Now, throw on your washer and your nut. Get the bottom one as well. Tighten them up, put the tire back on, you're ready to do the other side. Well, That's how you change the rear shocks on your British sports car. If you have any questions or any trouble along the way, give us a call. We're happy to walk you through it. Also, if there's any projects that you're working on in the future that you'd love to see us get down on film to show you how to do, drop us an email at howto@bpnorthwest.com or just give us a call, 503-864-2001. Thanks again for watching. Enjoy the ride.